Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy What We Watch Wednesday. It's your girl, Ms Peacherino. It's Monique, and we are here to talk about the Pit, honey. It's the Pit time. And I mean, come on, like we're talking best show on TV, okay? Best show on Max. I'm very, very excited. Let me tweet it out so everyone can join. I mean, we're talking real TV, guys. It is what it is. And I'm just very excited about it. Welcome, David. Come on up. Tweet out that we are starting. It is time. We have a great show for the day. Let's get the conversations going for a good little minute because we got our guy Noah Wyle back on television. And I'm just going to get real nostalgic real quick because medical dramas are that girdle. And before I expose myself, let me just be very, very nostalgic. Medical dramas I started watching with my abuela when I was very, very young. Um, it's giving the new version of a soap opera. It's giving, right, obviously soap operas, Young and the Restless type beat, you know, what is it? All of the soap operas that we used to watch. My abuela called them telenovelas. And so there's something about television over the past 18 months that they are hitting every mark that needs to be hit. And then I hear somebody tell me to watch The Pit, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, what are you talking about? What's The Pit? Why is it called The Pit? Like, that doesn't even sound sexy. Then I watch the pilot, and I'm like, oh, shit. Now, what really stood out in the pilot for me is the timestamp at the bottom, as y'all all know, very unique to the show. And so it was just, that is my introduction and my journey to start, is that I'm restoring the feeling from medical dramas, from being with my abuela, from seeing Noah Wyle, and just, I mean, we're talking 14 episodes of TV in one season, and baby, it could have been 3 to me, because I'm like, where's 14 more, honestly? I need it. TJ, welcome to the stage. Happy What We Watch Wednesday. We are talking The Pit. Tweet it out. I've seen way too many tweets about this. I need everyone tapped in. I want to hear how you feel. TJ, talk to us about The Pit, cuz tell people how you started watching it and why.
Happy What We Watch Wednesday, everybody. I started watching it because I was in the middle of a lot of shows at the time, and everyone in my life was telling me to watch this damn show, including Monique, and I was opposed to it. Not because I had any hate against the pit, but just because I was watching too many shows.
And can you talk
But
about the shows you was watching? Because you was watching great shows.
I was watching some great shows, but I was also watching mid like Daredevil and not enjoying it. And I
Facts.
really once I started watching the pit, it made it real hard to keep watching Daredevil because the pit is just amazing. It was
Exactly.
my we've had great seasons of TV this year. We've had The White Lotus, which I loved. We've had Severance, which I loved. But my favorite season of TV this year is easily The Pit. It is
Easy.
just incredible. I have been like I like medical dramas, but I've never been like a huge medical drama fan. I don't watch Grey's Anatomy, although I've seen episodes before. But they kind of found my particular personal sweet spot because I don't like the soap opera elements of some of the most famous medical dramas. I don't like Grey's Anatomy. I don't really care about who's fucking who in the hospital or what's going on with their lives. But what's cool to me is the kind of the case of the week thing. I was really into, like, say, House, where obviously there was some drama, but it was like they get so in depth on the medical stuff that it's enthralling. It's like they're using all these words that you don't know what they mean, but in the context, you just accept them. And they kind of stripped everything down. There's so much
I,
medical, like 80% of the dialogue in this show is just people yelling medical terms at each other, and it is
and
insanely entertaining.
can I engage with you just for a moment? Because you hitting every mark that I need to be a part of, right? Because you brought up House, and I didn't want us to get too far without shouting out House. And Tej, if I may expound on, because you've shared with me what you really didn't like about some of the Grey's Anatomies of it all, and that was where I was going to expose myself. Happy What We Watch Wednesday. Shout out to Shonda Rhimes and everything she's done ever. Life did not allow me to be so committed to Grey's Anatomy as everyone else is to season 45 of Grey's Anatomy. I think as a writer and future showrunner, that is the most successful thing. So I'm not even speaking because haven't seen it. Speaking to like it's not a brilliant show. I think it was so brilliant. I had a great time. Shout out to Shonda Rhimes from the scandal to the Grey's Anatomy of it all. But TJ specifically has a problem with how much we divorce ourselves from the term medical, right? It's like you have so many medical dramas, but it's like more drama than medical. And TJ's that. Am I getting that right? Like the
Yes.
Pitt is like, I'm going to give you the exact amount of medical in this drama. And it's very close to like some of our favorite TV shows like Succession, where every other terminology, because we are not of the Murdoch rich family inheriting, all types of $1 billion of wealth from our families, God help us, we are just listening to these terms and these ideas and these approaches to the market. And we're just like, yo, we don't know what they're saying, but I know how they're feeling. And the pick gets that right every time. Go ahead, Tej, and then I'll let David and Taj jump
It's
in next.
there's no way that you could tell me that a show with this much exposition could be this enthralling. Like when they are diagnosing, when the patient comes in and they start yelling out what the symptoms are and what the potential causes are, that is all exposition. We have to explain to the audience what this case is about so that they can understand where we're going. Also, the hardest thing to do, and it's easier in TV, but the hardest thing to do is to have characters grow. So when your season of TV is literally one day, how much can you show your characters changing and growing in one day? It's
Put them,
impossible. We don't.
put them in
If
an emergency room where they
Yeah,
meet a new person
growth
every
is not
hour.
supposed to happen like that. But if you put them in the most stressful possible environment, now not only do we care about these cases, which are nasty and gruesome and funny, and they run the spectrum. You're throwing in jokes. You're throwing in the fact that some people might like each other in the hospital. You're throwing in people are different levels of good at their job. You're throwing in workplace drama. All this stuff is kind of in this cauldron bubbling. But the real accomplishment of the show to me is that you genuinely care about these characters, not just the people that are being diagnosed, but you also care about the doctors and where their mental health is and what's
Oh my
going on with
gosh.
them. Like you care about that stuff, and to be able to put all that in a cauldron and make it work, I don't think there's a boring 5 minutes, let alone 3 minutes or 2 minutes in this entire season of television. It is mind blowing what they were able to accomplish.
I very rarely ask myself, how did they do this in a show? It's very much, I'm amazed that they did it. I think this is so impressive. This is so cool. I found myself asking during many of the episodes, how did they pull this off? At any given time, and David, I won't let you cook, and then Taj, there's at least 8 people on the screen, and we are into it. Like that's hard to film, to write the dialogue, to catch all these beats, to catch all the right tonations for people. Like, I'm like, how did they do this? You memorize these lines, and if you're not in the medical field, these lines mean nothing to you. There's a lot of research and a lot of care that had to go into this show for this to work so effectively to where people like us that are seeing it, however long after it's been filmed and cut and put on Max, that we feel like everybody know what they're talking about. We are invested in every character. That might be another pillar for what we watch, because we know that I have to be invested in the character's growth or stagnation, whatever it is. I have to be invested in these characters. And I can tell you every single character. TJ will text me in the middle of the day asking me a question about the pit, and I know the answer. I'm like, well, this is Santos's issue here. And so later on, you'll see this. Because I know. David, talk to me.
Yeah, as far as earlier, you were talking about how do we come into this,
Mm-hmm.
and I was kind of just paying attention to what everyone was saying, but that kind of came out because the funny thing about it was like specifically what you said earlier about like how the name, the pit, and I mean, I remember seeing like it was coming on like on my HBO
Yeah.
Max screensaver, and I was like, I dismissed it so hard that I didn't even see that that was Noah Wyle, and his head was big as hell. He was all
He's
up in
all
the
amazing. Yeah.
picture, and yeah, and I just saw the lettering and was like, yeah, no. And so I didn't know he was in it. And even when it started, I was like, oh my god! So this is the show everybody's talking about. Like it took off the whole veneer of what we have become used to, as far as, especially on HBO Max, as far as like television. I mean, and it wasn't even, it's not just that it simply had a more network television look, but also more that it kind of fell into something akin to like docudrama, and that like the look of something that wants to, like, we're just giving it to you
Almost,
real. There is
yes.
no lighting, there's going to be no cinematography here, there's going to be none of these things that we are, again, in the era of prestige television,
Yes.
we've become used to. And yet it was every bit of, and in many cases more riveting
Yes.
than some of those. And then I also found it a lot in common with some of my other favorite shows that have come up recently. Earlier than this, obviously, Game of Thrones and Industry, both HBO
Ugh.
shows, where I do think these shows in reality are heavy on exposition. And sure, the other ones have more. Well, actually, they don't, but it's just different kinds of action. But the point is that when you have a show like Industry, which may feature more as far as like outside relationships, but it's still very heavy on jargon that most of us do not understand, have no clue what these people are talking about, but it doesn't really matter. These shows do such a good job of not only doing the stuff that works outside of that, but also within the jargon itself. The actors, everyone that they get is so good at their job that these
Yo,
words, you kind of get the context of what they're saying without having to know exactly what it is they're talking about.
brilliant.
And so all those things put together, it's just it's one of the most pleasant surprises I've had in probably, I don't know, 10
David, I
years.
could not fucking agree more with every word you just said, especially hitting on Industry HBO. I'd be remiss. My guy Mickey Down, we love you. Thank you, Conrad and Mickey, for Industry HBO, supporters of what we watch. Um, exactly. Jargon, medical jargon, right? Finance jargon, right? Succession, like wealth management, succession jargon. We don't know, really. And when we don't know, if you're anything like me, you start to like look up words in the dictionary. And I sure did. I sure did start watching the Pit, and I was like, "Hey, Claude, uh, what does it mean when somebody temperature 99? What does it mean when somebody OT 75? What that mean?"
What does it mean when someone is tacky? I looked that up. I heard that 2 or 3 times. I said, no, I gotta know what they talk about.
I gotta know what they, because there was one thing, beautiful thing, I teach. I think I have to give you credit for sending me the video. If not, I have to give Robert credit, who's not in the room today. He's in Japan. Somebody sent me a video regarding Succession, and it was like the camera is the other character in the room, and that is a beautiful way to get a shot. And David, you just touched on it from like the docu style. It's what Succession does. It's this kind of, again, this prestige television has a way of doing that, and the Pit did it so well too, to where like you're in there with the patients. That's why you care. I'm the camera. That camera is the fifth character, the 10th character in the show. Shit, I want to know why the girl drowned too. I want to know. Like, I'm here. Can I help? And so, you kind of want to know what tacky means. You kind of want to know why a balloon in a crike is the thing. I'm like, what is a crike? I'm like, shit, I do know that. I do remember that from ER. And so it's just this beautiful, nostalgic, pleasant surprise. I was pleasantly surprised. I also, like, my best friend, I have like one but two best friends from Pittsburgh. I'm like, I don't give a damn about Pittsburgh. What are we talking about? Why isn't Pittsburgh? Man, I'm like, yo, I love Pittsburgh. Shout out to Pittsburgh. Taj, talk to me. Tell me your relationship with the show, how we got into it.
I don't know why I started watching. I think it's just people started talking about it, like my friends. I don't know, because I watched it like the first week it was out.
Mm.
So I didn't like hop in week 3, 4, 5. Like I saw the episode when it came out, but I was also watching this other medical drama, Doc, which I don't think made it. They did 10 episodes and disappeared last month. That was on Fox. That was more dramatic, a little bit more soapy, but not as like corny as Grey's Anatomy can kind of get. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, you just sit and watch. Um, and it had a lot of heart. But like the first 2 episodes of The Pit, I was like, okay, like we're moving a little slow, but I'm gonna stick it out. But it was being able to kind of like develop these relationships to each character and really start to enjoy them. Like Santos is my favorite character on the entire show. I think she's like wonderfully complicated to the point where like you think you hate her, but then you kind of can't because you know that she has some other story and that there's a lot of heart there. She just has a she's one of those people who's like a just like a dramatic creative, except she's just in a medical field. So she just has a whole lot of stuff going
Mm,
on. She's carrying her own burdens, sometimes taking them out at the job, but then trying to do the right thing because she's brilliant. She wants to be seen, but then like she's vulnerable. It's all like, and we see how great she is in the last episode. But yeah, I just loved the ride, and I have never watched ER, but I knew exactly who Noah Wyle was as soon as I saw
nice.
him.
Nice.
Like,
Excellent.
so you know what I'm saying? So it's like
Period.
I was talking about it with my mom, and because I was young when it was on, and she watched and stuff, and we were going through the cast, and I'm like, well, I know the entire cast of ER, which shows how legendary the show is. I just never watched, but shout out to Max for having it available. So I'm gonna get into that. But
Period. I
Noah
did see that. I'm like,
Wyle,
they got ER back on there.
yes, like I Noah Wyle kind of popping out again, like as a doctor, and he's not giving like McDreamy or anything that happens over
But he is
on,
very sexy.
you know, sure. Yeah, you know, maybe, maybe because he's like strong. He's just like doing his job,
I might
and
be
he's
ovulating.
doing
I
it,
don't know. Let's keep going. Keep going.
and he's doing it how he's supposed to be doing his job. But then even seeing him being like imperfect and having this like anxiety issue, which was whoa, the way that they tied that to the pandemic really blew my mind because I haven't,
Such a good job.
you know, it's a delicate thing. You don't know how people are going to handle it, but showing that kind of as the like catalyst to him having these episodes was really brilliant. But love how they didn't stay on that too long. And then to your point about Pittsburgh and loving it, shout out to the Black History lesson and
You
having
saw it.
everybody that watched the
Pete
pit realize and learn that the reason you have the ambulance corps
in
and
911.
emergency services is due to racism, because what isn't due to racism. But I like that they did that throw without glossing over it. They could have just said, oh
They
boy,
let
yeah,
it
my
sit. They
dad did
cooked it.
whatever.
Yep.
Yes, but they really, not only did they cook it, but it's uh the doctors kind of like, no, like it, like explain. I see you're remembering this, and this is who these people were. That was important because I don't even think people walked away realizing what had just happened. But that was a really great moment without having it be corny or like having it be for. It's not a forgettable moment in the series. That is what I'll say. But that was like really great while being able to tie it into the history of the city. Wow,
Come
tens
on.
across the board.
Come on, tens. That was one of my favorite scenes. They had that older black man saying, I'm telling you, I related. I was like, I also know what they're talking about because I've looked it up. You know me? I was like, yeah, he know what he talking about. Did he work in the field before? I was like, yeah, we might have worked in the field before because I know what I'm talking about. Jess, thank you, Taj. Jess, talk to me about your relationship. How'd you get into it? This is what we watch.
Man, you know what? It's interesting because it's almost a mix of the two stories that we just heard. Like it was popping up on my HBO, and I don't know. Like, it just kind of seems like we're in this time now where all the streamers are just fighting for time and attention, and it didn't grab me right away. But then
Mm,
I just kind of started hearing people talk about it. Like every so often, I would kind of just scroll my timeline, and one or two people would say, "If you're not watching the pit, I don't know what you're doing." Or like like doctors would just start to talk about how gag and cringeworthy this scene or that scene was. And one of my closest friends is a doctor, and it just, I don't know, it was like this kind of popcorn thing of like anytime I was looking at social media, one or two people every so often, just one or two people would pop up, different like different times and different people, and that's always a signal for me of like, okay, let me at least check it out. Let me give it 10 minutes, um and I was drawn in immediately. Like I almost want to go back and see what I was missing on the tip. Like
right?
that show did kind of miss me. My kind of medical procedural type thing was more Grey's Anatomy. um
Okay, we
but
got a Grey's Anatomy fan in the house. Period.
yeah, like shout out to Meredith Grey. um 22 seasons, by the way. She ain't leaving. That's crazy. Anyway, um,
That money long, that check clear.
listen, period. But then I started hearing about the ties to ER, and another podcast that I was listening to, recapping other like kind of prestige TV type shows. They just kind of threw out there, oh, we might start talking about the Pit and the legal but not legal ER kind of ties, wink wink nudge
Hmm.
nudge. And then I said, oh, okay, now I'm definitely in. And the performances are great. The show is really solid. It's so well done. I love the characters. You have to excuse me. I came in a little late, but when I
No, no,
did
no, you're
join
totally
the
fine.
room, I know you were kind of talking about how every so often you'll watch the show and you'll think to yourself, how did they do this? How in the world are they doing this? And I don't know if you brought this up or if you guys heard this, but I was listening to some interviews from the cast, and they were talking about the dance and the choreography and the real time. Like once the mass casualty event started, they said like they couldn't go back and like reshoot those scenes. And that to me, it like that blew my
I
mind. Like
knew
there was
it.
blood in certain spaces. There were gurneys. There were extras already laid out in a certain way. And so once that light went red on that camera, and director said action, that was it. You cannot
I
miss a
knew it.
line. You cannot miss a moment. You cannot miss your like. So to me, I just and you could see
Jess,
it and you could feel it. Yeah.
thank you so much for saying that. Because I'm telling you, a lot of shows that do the one take stuff will advertise it. Like that's their headline, that's their thing, you know? And it's, Adolescence is a very recent one on Netflix. It's like every
Yes.
episode is one continuous shot, one take or whatever. I love that you found this out. I love that because the show does not feel rehearsed. It doesn't. It doesn't feel like we did multiple takes. Because how can you redo what you just showed me on screen? You rehearsed that? No way. It feels too real. I know you
Yeah.
did that in one take.
Yeah, no,
And you had to.
too real. You could feel the anxiety rising in the room. I felt for each doctor as they were learning. I felt concerned for most of the patients. Well, I'll leave that there. Most of the patients, I said, okay, what's your story? What's going on, dear? Like, what's happening? Some of those cases were legitimately heartbreaking. Like, some of those cases truly, like, had me in my feelings by the time the episode was wrapped. And it was just
Right.
so good to see this type of TV again. Each breakdown from each doctor seemed so meticulously like written and performed. Like for me,
Right.
like Mel King, I know she like that's the easy answer. She's written to be easy to love.
Oh my
But
God, I
I
love
can't
Mel.
help it. I can't help it. Like she's so good, man. Like she's neurodivergent, but she's
Thank you.
brilliant. And the
Thank you
performance
for
was great.
saying that. Thank you for saying that she was written to be loved, right? Because Taj
She
came
really
in with
was.
the Taj came in with the Santos love, and as you should have, Taj. And because you clocked me immediately with Santos' relationship that I had with her as a viewer. I was like, she's weird. She a snitch. Get this bitch out of here. Then I was like, nah, fuck with her. Nah, okay,
Yeah.
I see what. Sometimes you just gotta be that kind of bitch to get to a place where you need to get.
No, it's
I was
true.
like, all
And
right,
she
all right,
was
I fuck with
right. And the thing is, and she was right. Okay,
you.
homeboy did
I
that and
fuck
he was
with you.
stealing the
Yeah,
pill.
that I didn't. I still didn't fuck with her even after he was right. Take any man down that you need to, because they get away with way more. Sorry to all the men, not sorry at all. But I was like, nah, we could have. But he was tripping though. And so it's good when shows do this, when writers do this, they juxtapose a person that you hate with an even worse person. And then you're like,
Exactly.
all right,
Ex-
you cool. Let
And
me
then they
let some
say,
more
tell you
people
what, in
talk.
season 2, they'll have to figure it out.
Right. Let me let Manny talk, and then Teej, can you go to Wally after that? Manny, welcome to the stage. Thank you for waiting. Talk to us.
Yeah, hello everybody. I saw the room and I was like, "Oh, I have to jump in on this." Like
Okay,
the
exactly.
pit, the pit, the pit. Like it's been like my obsession lately. I can't help it. It's just been so good. Like I hopped in, I think like week 4 or 5. I kept seeing people talk about it, but I hadn't gotten around to it. And then I was
Yeah.
sick one weekend and I was like, "Fuck it, let's binge." And I just want to
Period.
say, like, television is back.
Period.
And like prestige is cool, prestige is great, but like you were talking earlier about before about like soap operas, growing up in like The Young and the Restless and all that stuff, and like being like a cinephile is like the cool thing now. But like I, as a person, like I always loved like TV shows. This is what happened when you live with your grandma, and so like.
Yeah,
And like I always liked the highbrow TV shows and the lowbrow TV shows because you need all of them. You need that to like diversify your tastes. And I just feel like
Manny, they don't hear you in the back. They don't hear you in the back.
and I
Say
just
it
feel
again.
like TV shows themselves have fallen off, and like the pit had to remind people because the fact, like the pit itself, in truth, if this was 15 years ago, the pit would have been on CBS or NBC. Like it wouldn't even have to be on HBO Max. Like the fact that only a streaming service could make that now is a problem. Like we went from linear TV shows making The Good Wife and like Blacklist to now they're giving you crap, or they're giving you soap operas that have been around forever, or they're dragging on shows like Grey's and SVU, which I love those, but it's like, why are those the only options? Like it's like nothing else seems to stick. So like I just really appreciate the pit for doing that, and like I hope like these networks are looking, because it's like
You know
I feel
what?
like HBO is great. Like I grew up on The Wire and The Sopranos, but also it's kind of sad that like The Pit, really in truth, it shouldn't have to exist
Network
on
TV.
HBO Max. It should be existing on networks. Like it should be able to thrive on a network. Actors can be on it for 10 seasons, keep they check, and just like TV overall just be good. So I just wanted to mention that, I guess, kind of from like a, like I love it from a drama standpoint, but also from like a weird like creative and like a business standpoint, because it's like I like weirdly work in TV on the corporate side now, and so it's just like you need these TV shows, and then maybe people wouldn't feel the need to be cutting the cords. So just shout out to the
You know,
pit. It's trying to save television.
you know what? It's interesting that you say that, and welcome to What We Watch. Happy What We Watch Wednesday. There's a few layers here because you lost me for a second when you said there's not a lot of good TV. Because I think there's great TV, but then you said stuff that sticks, and that is important. And then you
Yeah,
made the
I should have
distinction
specified.
right, with network TV and cable TV. And someone that really stood out, I went to Deadline Contenders TV with Quinta Brunson back in 2021, just as she was, putting out Abbott Elementary. And she said specifically why it took, she was so adamant about making sure that her show was on network television. Now, obviously, you can watch it on Hulu. I'm not a network TV girl. I have every streaming service. That's just happy what we watch. That's what I do. So I take that L, or and let TJ pay for all my streaming services. But there is truth to what you're saying in the fact that, because from my perspective, there's amazing TV. This has been the best TV for 18 months. But if you go a few layers and you go a little bit beneath the surface, I'm finding those TV shows because of the work that I do. A lot of these shows, I'm very aware, are not sticking based on fact that it's coming from Black filmmakers, Black independent artists, marginalized Latinos, was it MENA people? All of those types of things are not being highlighted, and they're not sticking in the way that they used to be stick, and people aren't getting paid the way they used to get paid. And so there is kind of like this funneling of how television is being consumed. And I think that's what you're kind of talking about. So
Yes,
I
you
appreciate you
really,
saying,
you
yeah,
should have said it way better than I. Like I should have said there is great, like TV has never been better, but you have to search for it. And I
yeah,
don't mind searching for things because like I said, I like TV, I work in TV, but I shouldn't have to. Like the average person, they should be able to just see that anywhere. So like that's my thing. It's like network TV is
yes,
in a rut, and I feel like the pit,
agree.
like I
Because
hope
I had
it puts a battery in their back,
I like that because I had USA Network, and I like to talk about that a lot too. I had USA Network. That's done. And
right? Or the
I also
sci-fi channel.
the
That's dead
Sci-Fi Channel.
now.
That's what I'm talking about. But let me let Tej go because we can talk for hours, right? Go ahead, Tej, and then let's go to Wally. Thank you for having your hand up. Be
I
appreciated.
love that point she just made about, as a kid you're watching high art and low art, and I think that frames your scope, that frames your aperture that you view our current TV and movie landscape. And so I love that comment. I want to go back to David's comment, and he said, this show kind of dispenses with a lot of the things that you would assign to prestige TV.
Yeah.
I think the absence of music is a huge one for me. Like, there's no room for music in this show. It adds to the intensity. Like, there's no music. There's no, like, long cuts. It's hard cuts. It's camera swivel. It's like, and you're
It's
putting
beat,
the
dialogue,
camera.
dialogue.
Yes, it's just like fast paced, and they're not slowing it down with music. Also, we're literally spending 14 hours in one location. Like, you very rarely go outside of the hospital doors. Sometimes you go outside the actual hospital, but you're still on the grounds. Like, you stay in
To
one
see
place for
someone
14
smoke a
hours.
cigarette.
You
That's
go
it.
see someone smoke a cigarette. It's like, damn, I haven't seen outside in 4 episodes, but I forgot there's an outside here. Like, they're dispensing with some of this stuff that we would think makes prestige TV. So I really like David's comment. Also, I just have to stop and say, what it does have that can go back to all of our favorite shows, the shows that we loved as kids, whether they be medical dramas or any other dramas, it's a fucking kick-ass cast. It is a top level cast. And it's not like you have 3-star players on the team. They had to cast a 15 deep cast where you care about all these people. Obviously, we knew what Noah Wyle could do in a role like this, but these people feel like doctors to me. I am obsessed with Dr. Mel. Every time she was on screen, it was just so incredible. I had no idea that her father was her father. She's a nepo baby. The nepo babies are taking over TV, and I'm here for it. Like, absolutely in love with this cast. There are 10 performers, 15 performers that I absolutely fell in love with. Let alone the people that they're casting as patients that are coming in doing a great
Right.
job. It's just this is a real feat of casting, and we have to recognize that, because without a cast that's this compelling, this show is much different. We don't enjoy it as much, but what makes you get through the 14 hours without being bored is that these performers are fucking incredible. Some of them are first timers, some of them are young, some of them have never been in anything we've ever seen, and some of them are just, this is not a show. This is a show that was made for relatively cheap. It's not like we got a whole bunch of huge names in this show. They had to really hit on every single fucking swing with the bat, and they really did with this cast, and that's what makes it so compelling.
Man, that's how I opened up my What We Watch Rec for the year. I was like, look, you want to talk about star making shows? You want to talk about stars? You may not be able to name 3 people on that show. I'm telling you, you're going to know their name when the next time you see a movie in about a year and a half. You're going to know them. I promise you, you're going to know them. Because, again, there's not a missed beat. A lot of some of my criticisms for, other shows, we've been doing this for almost 5 years, y'all. It's been 5 years that we've been having these conversations, and it is so affirming. I could cry. I'm so happy having this conversation with y'all. Thank you. Each one of you have said that you watched the show because you saw someone else talking about it. And that is exactly why What We Watch exists. That is the we. You don't have to watch it alone. You don't have to experience it alone. You get the recommendation, but you stay and you have these conversations. So thank you so much for being here. But what I was saying was, like, we're making stars here. And a lot of the criticisms that I have is at times it's very clear when one person is outdoing another person on screen. Tej, you feel me? David, I know you feel me. Like it's hard to keep up with Denzel in this scene. It's hard to keep up with Kate Blanchett in this scene. You feel me? It's hard. I never feel like that. I'm like Noah Wyle. They all keeping up with you. They all right there. What's the beautiful Indian doctor's name? Dr. Mohan.
Oh my god,
Cooking.
Dr. Mohan is so good.
She be cooking on that. Fuck. She cooks every time. Santos cooking. I mean, we are just the young white doctor. Fantastic. And so yes, you said it perfectly. I have to. A lot of times, similar to Succession, similar to Industry HBO shows that I are just too close to my heart. You see them in these TV shows, and then you see them in these box office hits following the next 24 months. I need it for the pit. I have to have it. Wally, go ahead. Thank you so much for
Can
being
I
here.
say one more thing? I'm sorry. Do you know how fucking hard it would be to have a fucking series of TV where you have 10 episodes where you fall in love with all these performers, and you got to come in at episode 11 and episode 12 and hang with them? These people have been on set for fucking a month, and they all close, and you show up on set and you're still fucking killing. The lady black doctor that comes on the night shift, she's phenomenal. I'm like, oh my god, this woman's incredible. She fits like they
She's
found
so
another one.
good.
They got another fucking player off the bench who came in and dropped 15 points. It's crazy what that casting department did. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No, I love the NBA references. Shout out playoffs coming. That's really my next one we watch rec. But you're correct. I mean, we have a full roster. There are no role players. We don't have that. We got LeBron. We got the All Star. We got the Olympics. We got LeBron. We got Steph. We got KD. We got Ant. We got everybody. I know Ant's a little bit, whatever. But we talking basketball. Like we got everybody. We have. It don't matter. Change the shift. And the way that they set that up, right, Tej? The way that they set it up that new people were coming, fucking brilliant. They were like, hey, you need to go. Let the night shift come in. Are you not ready to go home? You not ready to go home? And I'm like, man, who's gonna come? Like, what? Is it gonna end the episode? Nope. We gonna put in our rookies, and they gonna drop 30 on your head too. Go ahead, Wally.
Yeah, y'all pretty much hitting on everything I hit, but see, I come from a background of loving ER, like literally.
Okay.
First episode with George Clooney and to all of Carter getting stabbed and beating on painkillers, which really kind of touched back on him catching Langdon. But the entire thing, the whole 15 hours, and I don't know if anybody had the same feeling when Robbie was on the roof. I felt them 15 hours with him. Like it's 15
Right.
episodes, but you really
Right.
feel like every single episode is paced so well. Nothing feels overblown. Nothing feels like fat. Nothing feels like you can cut it. Oh, cut this or you can do this. No, like I give
Nope.
big the mass casualty event. Robbie got them together and told them, "Hey, shit finna go down. We got people doing this. We got this people doing like no jokes, no nothing, no hype. This is what's finna happen to us. We're telling you now what we need to do. Everybody needs to do their job. And in a normal show, when the first thing comes in, you hear like a musical thing, like bam, here it is. You see some dude on top of the chest. Oh, I'm pumping him. None of that. It was just straight, cold, hard, logical
Pink,
fact.
yellow, red, motherfucker.
This is
Let's
what
get it.
exactly.
I'm like, put me in the
This
game,
day,
coach.
slapped him with the wristband here. Get him here. He went out to the dudes like, hey man, it's gonna get rough. Dude sipping the coffee. And somebody, I forgot where it was. He said, that dude, the one sipping the coffee, I know a dude like him. He is probably the coldest dude I'm telling you. They got him stone cold the entire show. As someone who literally cut my teeth on ER, it literally felt like they just took Carter. He's gone to Pittsburgh, and now he runs ER. That's what it feels like.
That's what
No,
it feels like.
it's just like you said, don't no veneer. It's no extra stuff. The like Tej was saying, the lack of music is like a decision that they made, and it literally sucks you into the scene. There is no music to move emotions. The emotions come from the actors, like I said, and they
Woo!
are putting on a master class. Noah Wyle, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I am a slut for Noah Wyle. I watched all the one when he was in like the library. I forgot what it was, but I watched them show because of him. His face, just on his face alone, when what's the little Huckleberry when Huckleberry gave him his words back to him, I teared up. So I'm like,
That was
oh my
incredible shit.
God, they're listening. They're listening and they're telling him, bro, I'm listening to you. Listen to yourself.
Wally.
I gotta get. I will talk out here, but I can't. I gotta let.
Bro, I'm telling you, no, you are so right. Yes. Yes. I'm like, and you just hit on why I think Noah Wyle is very sexy, because he's kind of has this awareness, right? Like he has this awareness, but then he has these moments where he doesn't have it, and someone's like, hey, like, this is what
Like
you
yeah,
said. This is how you
like
would handle
really
this. This is what
the
you would say.
dynamic. Okay, that's the part I said it's not, and I end it. Like Huckleberry catching him like that and propping him up. And then you catch Langdon, who everybody thought was kind of getting a raw deal. He kind of felt away for him, but then he throws that in his face to
Bro.
try and make it, yeah, but, I might be a lying, scheming drug addict, but you was crying on the floor and pee. Like, bro, of all the things you could do, get him the fuck out of here, man.
Right? Diner in the Dash, go ahead.
Well, not to belabor the point at this point, but I was going to say the same thing that Tej just ranted about for 5 minutes. That like I couldn't believe it was like there were like 15 or 16 doctors deep, and you care about all of them. Like you care about all of them. It's like
No,
there's
we are
not one
here
of
to
them that's
belabor
like
the point. Go ahead. Yes.
going into the surgery or a little procedure, and you're like not rooting for them, or like you don't care. You care about all of them, and that's just wild.
What
Um,
what's my the young white doctor, the student doctor, the one that gets peed on and shit on and blood on his face every five
Huckleberry, I
seconds?
forgot his name.
yeah, and
Yeah.
his living in the hospital.
Oh my gosh. Come on, storyline. I'm
Yeah.
obsessed. Obsessed. Go
Um,
ahead though.
but I was gonna say and this is going back to points that were made a while ago,
No, feel
and
free.
how they developed characters over the course of one day. And there were like a couple of the different doctors. It was their first day, and I remember I was like trying to keep track of like which ones were on their first day, and I like couldn't even remember. And I was like, shit, it's some of their first days at the hospital, and they're dealing with all this shit. And it was, and like I couldn't even remember which ones they were, but it just made me care more about everyone. And
Right?
but I just want to say, like, I have a bunch of friends that are in the medical world,
Mm.
and I was so and in a lot of other medical shows, they all the medical professionals are played by older actors, I think. And I was so glad they aged down the doctors, because from what my experience, everyone, whether you're a nurse or a nurse practitioner or a doctor, as soon as you're done with your school and your residency or whatever, they throw you in the ER. Like that's what they do. It's how you get a little bit of everything. It's how you get experience in every field. They're all young, so I was so happy to see like actors who are like 30 or 35 or however old they are, playing those roles, because that's much more true to
Mm.
lived experiences, and my experience in real life.
You know I
Um,
love a real world application. Get into it. Yes, thank you for sharing that.
yeah,
Hell yeah.
and um, the way they smattered in little part, like some more than others, but little parts of the characters' lives outside of the ER throughout the course of the whole season. It was just kind of like a slow burn the whole season for all of them, but so just you knew just enough, but it
Yes.
was really just about work the whole time. Um,
It's
I
how
thought
all of
it was beautifully done, and like I
yes.
know you're a screenwriter, and I do some writing too, but it's more in the creative like novel type of writing than the screenplay writing. But how they were able to do that so subtly, consistently throughout the entire season, I thought was amazing. Um,
Man.
and the weirdest thing, and I maybe talk about this later, but I guess I'll just throw it out there now while I have the mic. When watching the end of the season, and this is probably because I watch so much prestige TV with like arcs and like plot lines that last whole seasons and all of these things.
Right. The Game of Thrones of it
When
all.
I finished the season finale, I'm not gonna. It didn't mean I didn't enjoy it any less, but I felt like a little bit empty because there's no real I mean, there's some resolution to some things, but there's no real resolution to any big things other
Hmm.
than like Noah Wyle might go to therapy. Um, and
Okay.
it was
Okay.
kind of like this feeling like shit. They're all gonna have to go back to work like
The next
tomorrow
day.
or on Monday or whenever it is, and we're just gonna get another season of all
No,
this shit that's gonna happen.
I'm excited.
Like
I'm very excited.
I know, me too. But it's like I'm glad they got to drink a couple beers or whatever they're
I
doing.
work in the ER, so I'm very excited to get back to work as well. Like that,
Yeah,
doctor, whatever, his daughter. Taj, talk to me, and then David, go
yeah,
ahead, Taj.
So I must also say I love that, and I just had to Google this to be sure they weren't like playing a trick on us. I love that Santos was Filipino, and I love how they slid that in
Period.
because she was giving, we're not quite sure exactly what's happening here, but I did like that particular bit of representation. And I think it also adds to her just kind of being like an outcast that's kind of like in the mix also.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really important. Love Javadi's
Okay,
the
good. It is Dr.
relationship.
Javadi, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Javadi loved her relationship uh with her mother, because watching her over the course of the 15 hours have to like really buck up and tell that lady to relax because they were in an actual emergency was really really important. And the cultural nuance there also was like really big to me. Just like one of my best friends growing up is Indian also, and just watching her and her siblings go through this whole thing of going to med school and the
Oh my
pressures and
God.
stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it like that was like really really important, because it's like, yes, I'm here to honor you and stuff like that, and I'm already came in in your shadow, but also you don't know everything, ma'am. And the mama was trying it the whole time.
And
And
was.
sometimes I was like, oh, are you mothering Or like, are you trying to like low key embarrass her to keep her in her place because she's actually that good and you know?
Mm.
Don't try to humble her. And then you couldn't. So love that. And I also loved that Dr. Javadi had that crush and that old boy was like, yeah, I don't do that in the workplace. So please
Oh
relax,
my gosh,
relax immediately.
I was so cringe for that. But did you see the flip, Teach? I know you listening, Teach. All
Oh
right, now I know
yeah,
you
the
know I
flip
ain't
at the
like that.
oh well, like, because she was badass and he was probably like, well, I guess she isn't
Damn.
like
Well,
this.
let me make a
Yeah,
concession.
it seemed like he
Yes,
kind of feeling it a little bit. 'Cause like he was so impressed by
right.
her, and
He was
one
like,
day that he like, well, maybe I got to reconsider my policy.
So
right.
you
But
know,
I with with um I saw an interview with Noah Wyle, and I had seen him saying stuff before he started doing a lot of big interviews, but he was basically like he didn't really think or understand why people were attaching themselves to the pit. Like he said he really couldn't get it. So I think that's why. Oh yeah. Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, before he was like on J Hud's show and stuff like that, he had made a comment somewhere and he was just like he really could not wrap his mind around how much people were loving the show and attached
no,
to it. So I think
no.
the season finale was what it was because they were expecting this to just be a one season thing, and it
Oh
actually
Lord.
isn't. I don't think that they thought it was going to go beyond, because it is very much like we could go further, but if we don't, we wrapped it up in the 15 hours. But yeah, he said he wasn't really
Wow,
expecting
you
it.
didn't. Wow, I
And
mean,
yes,
typical brilliant creative person to say that. Yes, it's
but
that's
when you see
shocking.
him, but when you also see him in his interviews and stuff like that, you can kind of tell that he is really someone that likes to go to work and go home. So I think he's also just like, oh, I'm on a press run. Because think of the press run happened at the end,
Right.
like just like all of a sudden there was like nothing really coming out. So I don't think that they really
Yeah.
thought about it. And then lastly, um Dr. Collins, the black doctor that like went home right before
The
tragedy struck,
mass. Yeah.
a very very interesting way to, because they were hitting the women's health issues real
Hello.
quick, but also like, okay, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Very interesting way to discuss miscarriages while also discussing like IVF and women just choosing to start a family on their own. But then we also see that episode when we thought that young woman was being trafficked and like what's going on there. So I think they did a really good job of speaking to the political climate in many
Yeah.
different instances, um
Yes.
but then also speaking, like I said, women's health, touching on mental health in really uh big bold ways, because it's just like I didn't expect there to be
You don't.
a
You don't.
mass shooting, but then also within it you have this person there that's suicidal that needs help. Shout out to Santos again, she showed up and
Hello.
figured out a way when everybody was like, yeah, like don't worry about it, but like
Man.
figuring these really great ways to address it. A mother really taking her son's threats and stuff seriously and going above and beyond to make sure stuff was handled. So I think they did a really great job, and a really great job with diversity without like forcing it. Can't
Exactly.
can't stand a forced diverse moment, but
Yeah.
this felt right and made a lot of sense based on like where they are and stuff like that. But yeah, tens across the
No.
board.
Tens across the board, and I'm going to expound on that, but I want to let David go ahead because you where my brain is going is exactly what you're talking about. Go ahead, David.
I was just gonna piggyback off of a bit of well, basically the point that T started, and mainly connecting to a lot of what Manny had said, because it's about cast, because that's still, I think, to me, when we talk about even like what this is bringing back, and this show as far as television, I feel like historically, and I don't know, how old everyone is in this room, but
23.
being my age, yeah, being my age, then coming from the 80s and shit, like TV had a whole different feel to it. Prestige TV to me has come, or was born out of the kind of inherent disdain that TV had when I was coming up that basically had a separation of actors, even though at that time, some of the best actors we've ever seen were coming from
TV.
TV,
Right.
from, Denzel Washington, Angela Bassett, Bruce Willis, all these people were coming from TV shows, but there was a bias there that was like, oh, once you go to TV, man, damn, your career's over, bro.
Yes. Yep.
And now, then, funny enough, prestige TV, I think in both of those cases, or not both of those cases, but in one case, it was just purely arbitrary. The separation that we see now has granted TV as a whole a better reputation, but at the end of the day, it has put it all in one place, which is this title, prestige. And mainly what prestige did is it took all the great actors. And what you see on a lot of network television right now, I'm not saying there's no great actors on network television. Obviously, especially with shows like 9/11 and things like that, they're still grabbing people, but a lot of these shows have people that just, they toe the line, they hold it well, and there's like two really big stars or two people that are like straight out right legit character or stage actors at the very top, and it's like the SEC used to be, where like, yeah, it's very top heavy. And I'm not sorry, not the SEC, but some of the other houses like the Big Ten or
Big
something used to
10,
be
Big
very top
12.
heavy.
Okay. Hold on now.
ACC,
Well,
but it was just like, oh yeah, here's these couple of teams, and then the rest of these guys aren't shit. And
mm,
so the point is that is really kind of the way. Whereas prestige television, most of these shows that we've kind of come into since the aughts, from Breaking Bad, obviously The Sopranos. I mean, they were snagging up all of these boss, big time actors, some of them whose careers were starting to spurt out, but were still legit threats. People like Steve Buscemi, and obviously finding people like Bryan Cranston and things of that nature.
yes.
And so the point is, like I said, right now, I just think you see a where that has kind of swallowed up and hurt and harmed television, because we see shows like The Pit. And again, it took a streamer like it to kind of bring it back to what we used to see on television all the time, where you would see ER, you look at that cast, and like someone said, it's stacked all the way down. Most of the TV shows, like I said, I grew up on,
Right.
including soap operas, and everything, we're birthing again some of our
Exactly.
greatest stars
Right.
ever. And so, yeah, I just really think I'm glad to. That's one of my favorite parts of this, is that I don't. It made it so bad. I do want to say there is a weakness in that show, and his name is Jake. And what was so bad about it was that I really feel like that kid ain't
See?
even that bad of an actor, but he was in such a class that it became apparent that he is like, that's what passes for most people on television like
Correct.
right now. When you go like CBS and shit
Right.
like that, his acting is right there. That's top shelf right
Correct.
there. But in this place with these people, it was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? It
Tej
was
and I
bad.
talked about the young bull. We talked about the young bull. Yes, I'm from Philly today. I'm from the Northeast today. Tej, did you hear that?
You're not from Philly.
He had a little bit. He had a little bit to say about your boy Jake, your favorite guy. He's your favorite actor on the show.
That's not my favorite actor on the show. Please don't do that. Okay, I think that's the one performance that struggled, and I don't blame them. But we had some struggle with the little biracial kid. We had some real struggle with that performance. I'll just say that.
If I may wrap this all up in a very beautiful bow, thank you so much for joining what we watched. There are three things, and I am here to facilitate. And my goodness, did y'all go in today? I am so glad that y'all are just as excited, because I felt like I was late, boarding the train, quite frankly. And I think I joined when it was like episode 7. I was like, let me get in on this. And I'm telling you, there was not a day that I didn't want to come home and watch The Pit. I'm like, when is the next episode? What's going on? Because I joined late, so I should be able to kind of binge. And so it's a very easy show to watch. But I think there's a couple of things that have stood out thematically in this conversation. And I want to hang on to about 3 or 4 of them. Number one being, I saw other people talking about it. Again, I say that, but that is why what we watch was created, is created, and is going to continue to flourish. It's because of people like you that do get their recommendations from their community, from whatever marketing, from whatever algorithm, but also are dedicated to talking about it, word of mouth, and then joining communities like that. So that's number one. That is the most important. Thank you for being on this journey with me to facilitate the growth of what we watch. Number two, I invite you to think about what you mean when you say prestige TV. David, You touched on this, and this is something I was going to talk about. And so, what is prestige TV, right? Which takes us into the third point, which is what Manny brought up so beautifully, which is like this quote unquote high and low brow. I do not talk about art like that. Manny, you threw out the word cinephile. I kind of caught a slight stray, but I knew you wasn't actually coming at me because really what you're just talking about is that we
I
have
would
decided.
never.
Right. I know. What you're saying is completely accurate, though. What you're saying is that we have decided that there's a difference, and I'm not saying there's not, but I'm just inviting you to think about where you draw that line about what high and low art is, because, like Todd said earlier, a lot of it be racism. Okay, and not just racism towards black people, towards Latinos like I am. It's racism in general. It's access, right? It's resources, it's money. I'd be remiss every time if I did not bring up in what we watch that we are talking about how we experience art and how it makes us feel, but this is a business. This is an industry, and there are a lot of barriers to be able to create whatever you think is highbrow versus lowbrow. So I invite you to think, number one, what prestige TV means to you and how we've defined it. David already gave you like the first tip. And then secondly, how you define and draw the line between highbrow and low art, because to Tija's point and Manny's point, you do need both of them. Both of them work. And if you decide that both of them work and both of them hit whatever, you can have a respect for Tyler Perry. You can have a respect for the telenovelas and soap operas. You can have a respect for the comedic, shows that really just kind of give you a quick little, I don't know. I'd hate to really highlight the blackish of it all, the grownish. But again, if I invite you to examine your relationship with a lot of TV and film that you consider high or low, because regardless of how you feel about Grey's, it has 22 seasons, babe. Regardless of how you feel about it, you know that it exists and you know who's a part of that team. And so some of these just really give artists an opportunity to shine, which I think the Pit hits on perfectly. I didn't know a lot of these people before, and that was in my What We Watch Rec on my page. If you want to go and follow me on Instagram, I wanted that in there. I didn't know a lot of these people, and I'm okay with not knowing, but we gonna know these people now. And that's why a lot of this TV, whether you think it's the best, Ridley Scott's and Martin Scorsese's and whatever you think, even the Ryan Cooglers, right? Because, watch Sinners. We're going to really have to examine what high versus low art is. And last but not least, to really just hone in on the Pit, I want to be very clear about something with the Pit. Manny, great point about it needing to be network television. Get it done. Get it done. Where are the executives in the room? Get it done. It touches on nepotism. It touches on women's health. It touches on reproductive health. It touches on the effects of COVID on essential workers, which is something we heard for years, right? During the pandemic. It touches on residencies and students entering the workforce. It touches on racism. It touches on drug addiction. It touches on racial profiling. It touches on Black history in the medical field. Do I need to go on? Does anyone want to throw in some more that I missed? Because it covers everything: psychological health, mental health, um, dating in the workplace, which was a big conversation recently, and all of this kind of stuff. Like, it is just so important that a show like The Pit, coming from the world of ER, is existing in our lives again. Because this is something that, I don't know, as a screenwriter and as a filmmaker, I'm like, oh, this is gold. Make a TV show that's set where the door is literally revolving. There are so many people, therefore there are so many things to touch on. And I'm like, I don't know, guys, maybe medical dramas is where it's at. If you want to succeed in TV, make a medical drama. That's my What We Watch Rec for the day. Just do that. And so I'm really, really excited about this. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. Keep talking about the Pit. Noah Wyle, I'm sorry, I know you didn't think you was going to do a press run, my boy. But, we just love the work that you're doing. So if you like to be on set, get back out there. We need our season 2 ASAP. Are we getting our season 2, Tej? Did we already get that greenlit? That's happening, right?
Yeah, that's greenlit, and we're getting it January, top of the year. So it's a
All
big
right. See,
turnaround. Period.
ain't, ain't no multiple takes. Now, you know that. Ain't no multiple takes. We know. We already know. We already know. That is that is prestige acting. TV show, whatever. The acting is top tier. Jake, you're doing great as well. It's okay. Just get you some, get you some lessons. You're really just going up against the Denzels and the Angela Bassett's of it all. It's not your fault. You're still operating at a high level. But that was what we watched. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure you watch the NBA playoffs and the WNBA playoffs. All right. Shout out to making sure that every step we take highlights women. We're not women in sports, it's sports, okay? And you're watching the WNBA as well. So please do that. And thank you so much. Happy What We Watch Wednesday. Ciao.